Welcome back. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. Sorry, I had to fix my hair. I see that my sister is watching. I'll keep it PG. So you have to tell us what you're doing now. You still haven't. I've asked you like 4 times. You told us what your company is now. What you're doing now.
Oh,
Are you trying to be like purposefully, incognito?
No,
I'm kidding.
No, not sure. So I have a bunch of clients, mainly apps. A lot of them, to name a couple of them, one is Soothe, massage on demand. Still working with WAG. My favorite client actually is Abide, which is Abide in God's Love. It's Christian meditation. So everything is very different. There's no unifying customer.
Right.
I like working with businesses that are actually as dissimilar as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, basically just helping businesses grow.
And what you have your own company now, correct?
So yeah, basically, there's Flatiron. I have another entity. So yeah.
And how did that? What's the process like for that? I mean, I know how to open a business. I know how to open like a store or a restaurant or something like that.
It's easier.
Yeah,
it's easier. I mean,
that's
just go on LegalZoom, open an LLC. I mean, there's not much to it.
I like regulation, permits, anything. What do you gotta?
I mean, if I'm just a person behind a computer, there's no.
Fucking love this. This is it. I'm out.
Yeah, there's no real capital. I mean, it's just
wow.
Like it's a computer and a person.
Fascinated me. I spend so much money every day just to open a door, just to and you have no idea what's going to happen.
I always wonder when I look at retail business, and I just think, okay, you have this much in rent, you have all these costs. Like, how do you ensure that you're making enough profit to,
live on the seat of your pants, man. Lots of free jazz. Have no idea where it's going to go. I mean, you don't either, but there's a little bit more of a buffer for you. There's
right,
less,
just the cost is not there.
Yeah, or the loss, and in terms of it's like you got this building that you got. Oh, that's just crazy. It's crazy. And coming up in only that kind of business. I mean, the only time it was different for you was when I was a freelance musician and managing bands, because we had the gear already. It was just our time. It was booking. We just show up, we play. That was it. So it was a similar kind of thing. It wasn't digital.
Right.
It was analog. We were actually there. We were physically there. We were physically playing. But it was just an exchange on information, essentially.
Yep.
The information was just coming across in particular types of sound waves that made people sometimes move. And I enjoyed that. I really didn't like the direction that I was going in an artistic sense. It was not my original intention. So I reeled that line back in because that's important to me. I like to be creative and I like to do it kind of on my own terms. And it was not going that way. Like Carnival Cruise Lines was like, we want you to come on our boat. And I was like, oh, no, I know what's going to happen there. I had some friends that had done it and I was like, no, I'm not suffering that fate. So speaking of artistic endeavors, you have a little background in martial arts.
I do. It's been a while. Okay, so I used to be very into jiu-jitsu. And so actually seeing you a couple of weeks ago made me deeply nostalgic for that. I mean, you probably know far more than I do, but I think the thing that I always loved about jiu-jitsu, working with black belts, they were always so humble. And part of
that's the goal.
Yeah. And I think part of that is the sense that if you start, you're rolling, you're getting tapped, and you're going through this this journey, and the fact that your ego is being decimated at the beginning of it means that by the end you have an appreciation for what really matters.
Yeah.
And that I think just the philosophy of it and the temperament that it creates is very beneficial and has many parallels with marketing and life.
So what did this our last week's episode, I literally had the owner of Sun Dojo on, and we spent the whole time talking about that. But I'd love to get you're on the other side. You're on the purely business side. What are some of the parallels that stand out to you?
So I mean, a lot of it. We talked about luck as well, and it's some of these things are the same in which. So stepping back, I guess I did some work in college. I actually took some Aikido classes that were academic, which is strange. And I always can draw a very interesting parallel between Aikido and jiu-jitsu, and that Aikido was very academic, as I said, it was, you would do, it wasn't sparring, it was more like dancing, and you kind of had to allow your partner to like exert their will on you,
throw you across the room,
but almost in an exaggerated fashion,
yeah.
where it wasn't dynamic. And the beauty of jiu-jitsu is the fact that it's
super dynamic.
It's dynamic, and there's no, the truth is visceral. You feel the truth. You feel getting choked out. You can't have any illusions about your skill.
Right.
And so
it's so honest.
Yeah.
It's so honest.
And that's how I view digital marketing as well, in the sense that if you can measure the efficacy of every dollar you spend, when you're doing poorly, it's very obvious. And so, there's something about being confronted. It's almost like rolling in a sense every day on Facebook. I mean, I spend.
We'll tell everybody what rolling means for the non-jiu-jitsu people.
Just to actually spar and practice your technique against an opponent.
And the beauty of jiu-jitsu is that you can do that in a full steam, kind of realistic
without pulling your
fashion.
punches.
Right, because you're not throwing punches, you're not throwing strikes. It's joint manipulation, so you're looking to hyperextend potentially someone's elbow, their shoulder, their wrist, their knee, their ankle, or choke them out. And they have the tap, which is the capitulation, like, okay, good job, you did it, let's reset and we start again. But up until that point, it is super realistic, where you could easily be on the street with some crazy dude, and if you've done it enough, muscle memory will take over. Even in the heat of battle, you'll likely notice, again, talking about luck and like the intersection of preparation and opportunity, like often when you get into even an argument, you kind of start to lose your shit, and you can't, you don't do things the right way. But when someone grabs a hold of you, and you've been doing, like, I do jiu-jitsu almost every day, so I feel like if someone grabbed me, I wouldn't even think. I would just see the
muscle
neck.
memory.
I would just see the neck, and it was like, there's the opportunity. I've done the preparation, boom, and like the guy would be asleep, hopefully.
Yeah,
that's what I hope.
The opposite of this. Have you seen those videos? I think the Gracies were part of this initially, where you'd have these, certain dojos where you'd have some master who would, and you'd have a bunch of students, and they would, the master would use some, psychic energy or something. The student would fall backwards, and the master truly believed that he had that power, and the student, and it was bizarre, and it was this, they would spar, but when a real practitioner would come in, the master had the confidence, he thought he could do it, and then all of a sudden be like, oh,
and then his ass got knocked out.
Exactly.
I saw one where a guy squared up to like an MMA fighter, and he got knocked out so fast. Yeah, jiu-jitsu is real.
And so similarly,
invisible jiu-jitsu. Go ahead.
But similarly, right? You could take the point of, if you're maybe a brand marketer, or you're someone who you can't view, if you're not able to measure what you're doing and see the real impact, you can be deluded as to how good you are and what you're doing.
Absolutely.
But every day, I mean, I spend tens of thousands of dollars every day on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
And I can see exactly what it's doing, and when it's doing poorly, I have to struggle kind of against Facebook. I have to try things, see if they work
for your clients.
For my clients.
Yeah. Wow. So it's kind of like it's randori.
Yeah.
It's digital randori.
Pretty much.
I can't believe I just said that.
Digital randori.
No. No, I'll get into it straight up. I'll choke that motherfucker. I don't care.
The difference is that you're not. I mean, it's not. You're not rolling against someone in the same way. It's not like you're dominate, but you have goals. So it's not.
Well, like pure jiu-jitsu is not about that either. It's about the conversation. Like my professor always talks about the jiu-jitsu spiral, where it never stops. Like there's always an answer. There's always a question. It's not so much about I'm going to beat you. I'm going to win. Sure, you want to have the confidence and the self-defense. You should not go through the whole process and not be able to defend yourself. But when you're working at a higher level, it's more about just like really seeing all the opportunities. And I think that's what you're talking about. It's like, okay, that didn't work, but I want to pretty seamlessly and effortlessly move on to something that will work.
It's almost like,
excuse me,
even truth as a concept, right? It's this thing where you're always trying to get there, but it's this kind of asymptotal thing where you can't ever truly get there. It's just about the conversation. It's about the process of always seeking that.
Well, it's like business.
Yeah, exactly. You're never done.
You're always trying to make that money, but it's like eluding you. But like me, I purely enjoy the journey of all of it, whether it's martial arts and like going for black belt and just always being a part of that. That's the best. Like if you get rid of the belt system, I wouldn't care. I would be there every day regardless, because it is about that spiral. And the same thing, like Simon Sinek talks about the infinite game, where it's just always going on. You can be a part of it or you can be out of it. I just want to be a part of it. I want to make money too. I not a vain or greedy person, but I really, really chase the journey. And I think that's like the best approach.
And money seems to follow passion, right? I mean, if you're doing things for the sole purpose of earning,
right,
it's much less effective than if
it's just a shorter lifespan.
Yeah.
You're designating your shelf life then, like this will expire in
right. But hopefully you can do what you're passionate about, and then it kind of just follows.
There's not everybody's pulled it off, but there's roadmaps out there. It's certainly available. So where can people find out information about you? Say somebody wanted to get in contact with you and talk to you about their business and their brand. What would be the best way for them to reach you?
That's a good question.
So elusive.
I'm fairly resource constrained at this point, so I'm not necessarily taking on a ton of additional clients. But I've got some Medium posts if you want to learn about Facebook or Apple search ads. I have some Medium articles that you can find by searching my name. There's the website flatiron.co, which has some more information. And an email there. So that exists.
Great. Awesome. Well, it's really been awesome having you, man. I hope you all got some good information. I'm learning a ton from this guy lately and look forward to continuing the relationship, and hopefully you had some fun too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Have a great weekend. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. We'll catch you next week. Have a great weekend.